Good day, and welcome back to another one of these. And we can finally crown the Los Angeles Lakers the 2020 NBA champions. They were able to get over the final hurdle of the Miami Heat in 6 games. And a lot of people have already voiced their opinions of this final series, and especially this game, saying that it was boring and that, it's no fun and no wonder the audience numbers are down. But I personally love this game. The Lakers were just able to be what you expect from a LeBron James led team. Everything was done to perfection. It was beautiful. I mean, their defense was it was beautiful. AD continues to show that he is the best individual defensive player. I still do believe that Giannis is the defensive player of the year, but that's a different conversation. LeBron just continues to show that he's LeBron and that nothing can really stop him, even at age 35, and I don't see him falling off a cliff next season, so he's most likely going to be right up there. LeBron James ended up finishing this game with a triple-double. I believe it's 11 triple-doubles in the finals, which has him for most. And it sort of helps when you go to 10 of them. He just continues to add to this monumental legacy that he has. And it's getting very hard for people to bring up things to discredit him now. And I mean, as he said, we need to start giving him respect. And it still baffles me that a lot of people don't give him the respect that he deserves. I've spoken to people who think he's not even top 10. Some people think he's not top 5. I mean, if you don't have him at least in the top 3, I honestly don't think you understand the game of basketball. I'll say that right now. If you don't have him at least top 3, you're kidding yourself. You're pardon my French, but you're fucked in the head. I mean, come on. It's LeBron James. This is his 4th title. He's been in the finals 10 times. He's a 4-time MVP. He's got more All-Stars and All-NBAs and everything else than any other player. We really need to start appreciating things while we have them. And this championship resonates with that because of the loss of Kobe Bryant, and that there were so many people that hated Kobe. Obviously, there's a larger sort of contingent that love him, but there was, and most likely still is, a large chunk of people that hated him. I just don't get it. Like, I personally, I'll admit it, when the Golden State Warriors were coming up, I didn't really like them because they were just so dominant, and especially when they brought KD, I just thought it was a little bit unfair, and I didn't like Steph. But I still appreciated the fact of his talent and his ability to quite literally change the game. But I feel like I'm getting off a bit of a tangent here. We'll get back to the actual game. Danny Green actually hit some shots this game, which was good. And I do want to address the fact that anyone who even remotely thought of sending death threats to Danny Green, and especially his fiancée, are pathetic excuses of a human being. This is a game. I mean, I love it, and I hope that this can be my life following this league. But if you're that delusional and that obsessed with something that you are threatening death to someone because they don't quite perform to the standards that you want them to, you need to really take a step back and reevaluate the way that your mind works, because that's just disgusting. But I do have to say that Danny Green definitely was a disappointment this series. I think he shot around mid 20% from 3. His defense, I mean, for a team like the Lakers, and especially this game, they showed that they have an elite level defense, an all-time level defense. Danny Green, who is a defensive specialist, I think you could say, had a career lows in almost all of the advanced statistics when it came to defense, which is it's quite impressive, to be honest, because those stats are usually helped a lot by team success, and this team has a phenomenal defense, and it's shown in the statistics as well. But for some reason, I think he was just 0.4. He might have increased now because I'm not sure the stats had been updated at the time I checked them, but I think it was close to a career low in playoff defensive plus minus, which is, as I said, impressive to do on a team like this. One big takeaway from me was that Rondo is just otherworldly when he wants to be. He seems to just have this switch he can flick, and he'll just go out and dominate. He's almost trying to pattern that pickup, that layup. Can't remember the exact word for it. It's escaping my mind. But he's definitely getting that branded, and I'm expecting a few T-shirts out there with that. And it was actually just really fun to see the storylines around Rondo, especially being the first player to win on both the Celtics and Lakers, which is honestly quite baffling considering the sheer amount of times both these teams have won. I mean, they're both tied for 17, the most titles for an individual franchise. And since they've won so consistently and over multiple different eras, you'd think that just by chance a player that had won one in somewhere else would jump on the team, even from like a vet from like a young guy who won in the 80s might have ended up on the team in the early 2000s, that type of deal. But so that's actually just a really interesting bit of trivia, being the only player to win on both sides of that rivalry. But yeah, the one real big thing from this game was the defense. They just suffocated everything, especially when it came to Jimmy. I mean, he was almost non-existent. I mean, I watched the majority of the game, and he did have his fingers in a fair few things when it came to offense, but he just didn't really put that stamp on it that you expect from Jimmy. I mean, he had a 40-point triple-double, a 35-point triple-double, and then he comes out today. He is just shy of a triple-double with a few rebounds and assists, but he only had 12 points. He only shot 10 times and made 5. That's just not the Jimmy that we've come to expect. I mean, he still played 44 minutes, and I think that is a very crucial aspect that might get overlooked, because this Lakers defense was phenomenal. There's no other way of saying it. I'll say it till the day I die. I'll say it multiple times in this podcast, YouTube thing that you guys will most likely get salty and annoyed at me. But I think just the sheer exhaustion that Jimmy must be feeling. There was a clip that came out yesterday, or not yesterday, maybe the day before, during the post-game conference for Jimmy after his 35-point triple-double in Game 5, where he got up after the questions were done and walked off, and he quite literally looked like a broken man. He looked like he could barely walk. And that was definitely one of the big things that I think definitely hindered the Heat. And they just didn't really play all that well. And you can definitely attribute a lot of that to the defense from the Lakers. They were just suffocating on almost every possession and every aspect of every possession. There's just so many turnovers from this Heat team. You've got Tyler Hero being a shot taker instead of a shot maker because of the defense on him. They were able to close out on Duncan Robinson a lot better. He did get a few open looks, but they definitely made that a focus. Kendrick Nunn, again, came out, didn't really do much. One thing that I was very surprised about was that it became very prevalent that the main way to really give the Lakers some trouble is to move AD onto the perimeter defensively. So I was surprised at the lack of playing time for someone like Kelly Olynyk, because whilst Bam is obviously the better player, I think that you would be able to slide Bam to the power forward position, or even just sort of stagger his minutes. I mean, I believe that he's still injured and he's playing through the pain. But the best way to really sort of stifle this defense from the Lakers is to move out their most dominant defender in AD to the perimeter. And they just didn't really take much advantage of that. But the big thing that I think that really helped the Lakers, especially starting off, was that they put AD in the center, rotated the center position, and had Dwight Howard I think he was on the court for 30 seconds. And I really hope that AD looks at that and he gets told and he sees tape that moving him to center, whilst it might not be his preferred position, is the perfect position for him, especially for the way this Lakers team is built up at the moment. It just allows for the pace to be so much faster, and it allows for them to be so much more versatile and dynamic on both ends of the floor, because he can guard any center. He can guard almost any position or any player. And if they're able to utilize this next season, I don't see why they wouldn't be a great team. And I mean, I'll in a later video, I'll go through all sort of my predictions for next season, and because next season is going to be interesting because there's so many players coming back from injury. But getting back to the topic at hand, I do want to just take a moment and just send out real big props to Dragic, who was obviously playing through pain. I mean, he came out looking like he had Iron Man's leg on, and he still went out there, and whilst he might not have had the most efficient game, he was still able to go out there and give a little bit of toughness, and I'm sure it was a bit of a morale boost for their team to see one of their leaders out there after being gone for so long. And just going after this Heat team definitely has big things in their future. One of the funniest things that I saw was at the start of the season, a lot of people were sort of almost throwing shade at Jimmy Butler, saying that he was only going to South Beach because he wanted money and the lifestyle over winning. Well, he's got a big old middle finger pointed at every single doubter of his, and this whole Heat team has been able to just blow people out of the water, myself included. I would not have even remotely thought this. I mean, I got in a little bit of an argument with the guys over at Basketball Forever on Facebook and Instagram about them having this Heat team above the Indiana Pacers, because I actually believe the Indiana Pacers were going to be a better team. But they did finish at the better seed. But yeah, they fell apart in the playoffs without Sabonis, which is no surprise there. But yeah, moving on to just back to the Lakers and LeBron James winning Finals MVP. A lot of people that I've seen have had mixed emotions about this. I think that it's bang on. The man was pretty close to averaging a triple-double for the whole playoffs. He is the lifeblood of this team. He's the leader on and off the court. Like it's. I get that AD is a phenomenal player and he put up some great numbers, but LeBron James just does every little aspect that you want from a leader in any type of sporting environment. So it's a no-brainer for me that he got this award. He's very, very well deserving, and I think it really does help his legacy, getting that third MVP on a third team. That's just never been done before. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I just want to say big congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is very well deserved, and I can't wait for the next season of basketball to start. So leave a like and subscribe down below. Comment on what you thought of the game, what you thought of the series and the playoffs in general. And I'm going to start recording some different styles of videos, and I'll get them out to you guys as quick as I make them. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.